7. Very impressive score line for the Americans. They're looking to do it again.
It's the first map that's been dropped by G2 at this event. It comes at the hands of a team that has struggled in North American Pro League, and a lot of people didn't even predict would make it out of their group. Keep in mind, they were in that fabled group of death, though I think that term was used on 3 of the 4 groups, so I don't know how much weight it carries.
Yeah.
But in a group with Immortals, Rogue, and Team Empire. A lot of people didn't have Spacestation making it out, but boy did they, and they have done what no other team has been able to do up until this point, which is, I guess, mar the record of G2. We'll go into the ban phase, and Spacestation will be starting on defense. First, this gives them the 1st and 4th bans. They're gonna ban Monty and Valk, same as before, whereas it's gonna be Jackal and Maestro from G2. The only difference in this particular ban phase is that it's a Jackal in place of a Yin.
He has 2.
It's 2 what?
He has a Troy and a Young.
I think that's a to-scale picture of Troy Canadian's head, by the way.
He's somewhere in this venue right now, and he hates you.
He hates me no matter where he is. That's fine.
So, map number 2, and we're starting to load in here. Bottom floor from SSG to start. Not surprising in the least. This plays out somewhat like Clubhouse, the map we just witnessed. Not identical, of course, but it's similar. You're gonna get the basement usually for most teams, first things first. Then you got 2 other sites that are viable, or at least widely played. CEO and Tellers. Open area is technically also viable, but just not often played. Now, the utility lineup on SSG is also of interest. They have not brought an Echo. They've instead decided to bring a Mira, Mute with a C4, Pulse with a C4, and gas canisters from the smoke. So they've got plenty of counterplant utility, and while an Echo is very useful here, I'm sure Space Station are expecting G2 to bring something to counter it directly. G2 actually tried to, it looked like they tried to do that in the last round of the previous map by bringing a Twitch to shoot the Echo drones before pushing into the site, which is actually a pretty smart play, all things considered. It didn't work out for G2, but it's a smart play. So Space Station might have caught wind of that and decided, hey, you know what, we don't need Echo, we don't need Yokais, we can make it work with something else. And hence the operator lineup we have ourselves sitting on right now.
He's got a game of cat and mouse very early on, 30 seconds in, and thinking Nate creeping on up. He's gonna have 2 sights trained on him as both the Zofia and the Ashe are just sitting and waiting to try and catch the Mute. What's Rampy not using an ACOG upstairs on that CEO side of things? He's over by Banana. Possibly taking an engagement on the bank windows.
This is very dangerous, what he's doing. He won't fall back.
Almost stupid, I would say. That is not a smart play, but there you go. So goes Rampy, and so goes Chala as well.
I did not see where Chala died, but as the Mira, it's kind of puzzling that he's the first one down. It looks like it actually might have been downstairs, potentially?
Could have been through a hatch, he just wasn't paying attention. Now,
maybe, yeah.
Keep in mind, we usually see one of the hard breachers get banned here on Bank. Due to preference on the both Jackal and Monty bans, well, you have all 3 hard breachers available. This is gonna make this site in particular very difficult to defend, or at least more difficult than usual. So, you've got all 3 of them being used by G2, and not really much of a surprise there. Sloppy play from Kanto as they just lose a drone for no real reason.
It is sloppy. I mean, he clearly wanted to clear out nothing, but yeah.
Well, there was a barbed wire, but I mean,
I don't think there was, actually.
No?
No residue there of barbed wire, unless it glitched out, but so, yeah, weird. But
I mean, using a breaching round to take out your own drone, it really is an interesting play.
I mean, we all make mistakes, Parker. It happens. Candy's nuts. But yeah, exothermic charge on the server wall. A Mute jammer to stop it. It's going to be just a few more seconds delayed here. You'll also get that eventually.
And look at this.
There you go.
The only person that is even remotely close to the A bomb site is Redeemer inside of gold. The rest of the site is completely vacant. Thinking Nate is playing in the hallway. Rampy's in garage, and Bosco is all the way in B. But Gogo will have to fall off the plant as Bosco will toss a toxic canister, and Redeemer will just sit and wait so patiently. Bosco can thread the needle yet again and get the toxic canister down. Fabian is upstairs along with Pengu. So 3 members of G2 just waiting. There's Goga, he sprints right in, takes out Thinking Nade. This could get very hairy very quickly. Bosco eliminates 1 as a body falls, and you're gonna get Redeemer to try and grab another. C4 tosses out, but the ejected Miro was the other way. 2 down bodies. Bosco collecting tickets. He gets Goga and Kanto Raketti as Jonas goes as well. Plant down, but Pengu's upstairs, and there's 3 members of Space Station that can begin to swarm him. The diffuser is not in a position where Pengu can cover it through the hatch, so he's gonna have to move at some point. No counter defuse timer yet, as the location of Pengu might not be available to Space Station. 1 body's gonna come in, Pengu gets 1, not expecting the second, dropped, and the first round will go to Space Station as it's an easy defuse. Rampy a triumphant clutch, and they'll give him the disable as well. A celebratory dance from Bosco, why not? In Space Station, they grabbed the very first lead of this entire series.
Space Station carrying all momentum at present. A very impressive retake there. You could see they were playing as safe as possible on the site, maybe aware that there was potentially a Ying in play. Not the case here for G2, but the rush from G2 was countered by that passiveness from SSG. It was very well played, and well, you gotta hand it to them. They just outfragged G2 in the retake. There were some crucial moments there that actually could have made that round a lot easier for SSG. For example, the Thermite was planting in the open next to a breach in the wall, but it doesn't matter because look at that double from Bosco. That's all that's required. The round went back in SSG's favor, just off frags and frags alone. Excellent retake. We're gonna go to Teller's office archives for the second site. I wholeheartedly agree with this thought process. Teller's is statistically a superior site, but just less played than CEO. The meta is also slightly less developed, even though, yeah, it's Bank, it's been around since the beginning. People play it less these days. CEO is the preference site. SSG is going to, at the very least, force G2 to change their strategy slightly.
Something in North American Pro League that a lot of teams have noticed about Space Station prior to picking up Bosco on the roster, even back when they weren't even playing for Space Station, playing for another organization, was the ability for this core team of the Space Station roster to get back to site safely after killing a lot of time. Thinking Nade and Rampy were both in positions at the start of that round where an early engagement could have resulted in their deaths, almost certainly would have for Thinking Nade, and Rampy very aggressively playing upstairs as the Jaeger by the top of the lobby stairs. That could have ended up blowing up in their face, but both of them were able to get back to site, and they were both huge parts of why that round went in favor of SSG. So, a little lesson there. You take a gamble on map control. Once you realize that you've got enough time burned off the clock, you don't necessarily need to provoke a site or a fight when you're playing on a site like CCTV downstairs or lockers, and you can comfortably fit everybody within the confines of all those walls.
A bomb has been located.
So, here in this round, only 1 anchor currently actually for SSG, and it's going to get a rush from G2 because of that. No one inside of B from a Space Station, but Pulse, Bosco specifically, he's not calling this out. Where's the rotation from SSG? Kanto Raketti cuts it off, and it's gonna be a plant inside of Archives. A poorly established defense from Space Station as no one was holding onto Archives throughout the round. Thinking Nade's gonna get Pengu though on the retake. Bosco using his pulse, and he'll get one himself. An excellent headshot through the wall, but they're running out of time. The diffuser going down and ticking away. G2 still has plenty of manpower in a position to hold this, but I don't think they have the angle. They probably don't. Goga's gonna need to get aggressive, but he'll be shut down. And oh no, the disable denied. What a double for G2. 1 for Fabian, 1 for Jonas. From behind in small office, another one for Fabian. And Jonas in the main lobby is gonna put Rampy on the floor, but there's no time. It doesn't matter anymore. G2's gonna take it. An excellent rush into Archives.
That pull from the Zofia into the main lobby on the exact location of the diffuser is the only reason why that round doesn't go for SSG. Beautifully timed by G2, just to be able to move on in as it looked like the 2 GIGN operators camping on top of that diffuser were going to be able to get it. But Fabian's push on up was so well played and ended up being Jonas. Right there, that saves you the round because you were down to a second on that disable time, and you almost had SSG grab that disable from right underneath your nose. Excellent play from G2. A good recovery from SSG, but just a little bit too short. And once again, it's very similar to the very first round. Space Station had minimal bodies playing on site. Same thing happened. But the difference is that on a site like CCTV and lockers downstairs, there's a lot of map that you got to control before you can get on in. There's a rhythm to it. And with this site on Tellers, when there's nobody seated there and there's no presence on that second floor, that whole site is yours for the taking, and that's what G2 did. They took it. They got that diffuser down in a position where they could reliably watch it.
I mean, remember Fnatic Nora earlier in the day? We saw a Tellers attack from Fnatic where Nora were set up above. They had impact holes to cover Archives. And as Fnatic tried to rush into Archives, which was empty, they were mowed down one after another. Could you imagine if SSG had established themselves in a similar way? We probably would have seen a very different result. But a missed opportunity from Space Station, and not the greatest setup initially into the round. G2 will always take those opportunities when presented. Now, going back to Tellers, and I think it makes a lot of sense, because if we're being honest, SSG were very close to winning that last one, despite not being able to deny the plant in Archives. This time around, Bosco will be playing Archives, nice and snug and ready to go. But he's also, again, the only anchor. And this is just a bit of, again, it's a gamble from Space Station. They're relying on the retake potential, and I believe that's a good call, knowing Space Station, but why not two anchors? Why not one for each site? It's questionable.
There you go, you got Bosco nestled up in B now with Chala not too far away with a rotate if needed. There's a Yokai drone in open area that you can just sit and have it watch for you, as Jonas will drone it out and wait to see if map control can go for G2. Chala takes out the drone and then just retreats. Rampy's gonna be in the very first encounter.
Oh.
He gets Kanto, picks himself back up, but Pengu is right there. And it'll be a good trade. Take out the Ash for the Doc. Well, it's pretty even as all things can be considered. Take out one of the best players on G2. You take out one of the best players on Space Station. Fabian walks right in, gets a freebie off of Thinking Nade, as I don't think the Rook was anticipating that much of a push. But he should have heard the door break, and he absolutely should have heard a Cam go as well. Possibly thinking that he could win an engagement, but the 3-speed of Fabian was just too quick for him. That means that control on that second floor is fully G2's with 90 seconds into the round. Pretty good timing, all things considered.
Yeah, losing Cantorgetti is harsh, but overall, Space Station are in a great spot right now. And Fabian, again, has been fragging non-stop, it feels like, through this tournament. So the fragging power on G2 is certainly not limited in the least. Chala playing just inside of Tellers, and he's the only one holding this position. Redeemer's got himself set up inside open area, and Bosco in Archives. Vertical pressure here from G2. Those are the breaching charges coming out from Jonas in all likelihood. It's very good to establish that rotation cutoff between A and B. Bosco's gonna go for a run out, as will Chala, who challenges onto Goga. And these aggressive plays from Space Station are almost working out. Bosco gets shut down on the flank, expected. Chala's going for a second, but he misses some crucial shots. It's unfortunate to see, but it does happen.
Jonas doesn't lose those at all. Even though he did take a bit of damage, Fabian grabs Chala, Pengu falls off the defuse for the time being. Redeemer's got 20 seconds. Well, where's the Yokai? Zofia will present herself, and Redeemer will shut him down, but that might be an impactless frag, as now diffuser goes down, and Redeemer will need to wade his way through the site. So there's a rotate hole for him to work with, as Pengu's gonna sit and camp it. The proud mother of a diffuser sitting just a couple feet away from him. Fabian moves on over towards the teller's desk. Redeemer will put in a Yokai drone. We'll see Pengu gets promptly shut down. Pengu rotates, and Redeemer and Pengu will be in a standoff. Gumain will hit. Fabian there taking damage, but Pengu prone. Easy clutch. G2 will take the lead for the first time on bank. And Teller's Archives, not looking so strong for Space Station. Certainly not like their CCTV defense downstairs. Good news, they can go back as it's unlocked at the conclusion of this round.
Suppose I spoke too soon for this particular match. It seems as though G2 has Tellers on lock when it comes to that attack. And Space Station, yeah, okay, Rampy hit the shot on the Cantorgetti there, and it was very impressive. But why is he positioned in the main lobby is the real question. Giving himself away there, unfortunate. This is really great patience from Jonas holding that angle, expecting the flank. It must have been a call from a drone to make that happen. Overall, the attack from G2 was very well set up. They managed to take top floor control, use the vertical pressure, those breaching charges to cut off rotation between sites. The roamers by open area were effectively useless, as G2 didn't need to clear open area in order to take that site. And It's going to be a rotation from SSG. They will go to CEO. The tricky thing is that this is not necessarily an easier site to defend than Tellers. This is honestly on about the same level. And if G2 plays the way they were playing in those previous 2 rounds, we might see a similar result. G2 managed to put themselves up 3-2, or 3-1, pardon me. Here, then it's going to be very difficult for Spacestation to bring it back at this point. It's also really, I don't know, I guess surprising that we're going to see Spacestation go CEO when they could go basement.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Very curious as to why you go up to CEO when you have CCTV available.
Yeah, I don't know.
It worked. It worked really well. It worked really well, all things.
It did.
When you really think about it, but all right, I guess you go for a CEO.
You know, one thing that's really curious is we have both Ying and Glaz in play here, and we have yet to see either of them.
What do you mean in play? You mean unbanned?
Yeah, not being banned that's the curious part, isn't it? They're so often banned, and when not, usually they get played, especially on maps like Bank.
Yeah.
I believe Glaz would be extremely useful on pretty much all of these sites.
A lot of teams ban Glaz here, especially against opponents that run Glaz an awful lot. I feel like there were days when Jonas used to run the Glaz quite a bit, but he's been on Zofia duty for most part of the day. Obviously favoring the utility that she brings and the overall kit that she has as well. 1 minute in play, and G2 has been able to smash a couple windows open, but outside of drone work, really hasn't been that much that's happened between these teams. Fabian will enter as Jonas drones in through the garage. Fabian realizing he has a pretty clear path on up. One thing that G2's been really good on for those 2 rounds on Teller's Archives was finding the holes that were presented from Space Station's defense, and then just piercing. Realizing that you can walk right in, very similar to the way that Team Liquid does it. You figure out that there's a path on in, the path of least resistance, and you take it, get the plant down, and you have the control that you want.
G2 know that they need to play this smart, but they're going to be coming in from the main lobby, and Thinking Nate is there to receive them. He says there's no rooms available, but he'll run back as G2 sets up a fit.
It's like when you go to the bank and they say, sorry, we're closed for lunch.
And the guns come out, and we have an entry straight on into Tellers. That was a pretty successful entry, all things considered. They really should end by they. G2, he just goes for it, and he gets it easy.
No! How do you do that?
Happening, and it's getting even worse as Chala takes down Cantor-Raketti. Fabian will get the first kill for his team, but it's a lockout for SSG.
That CEO take was over before it even started. The first kill happens and all the dominoes fell. What a play and what a chance from Thinking Nate to vault out the window of the site. This roars through Pengu, and I feel like before Habana's body even hit the ground, everybody else was dead too.
Yeah, it did feel that way, yeah. I really want to know why Jonas shot his teammate. I have to see that. Oh, there it is. That
looks like Yoga was kind of, or Yoga. He looks like he does it.
Well, okay, it wasn't Jonas' fault. It's what we just confirmed.
It looked like he just hit him in the shoulder ever so slightly.
Yeah, and it was a really poor communication, sure, but you can't blame Jonas for that one. Reacting to an opponent and someone steps in front of him.
Top fragging on his team again through 4 rounds, 7 kills for Fabian. He is willing his team to stay in this one no matter what.
When he said he was the best player in the world, I think he thought that people didn't take him seriously, and he's trying to prove it now. At least that's the way this is coming off.
I think that really speaks more, though, to the rest of his team.
Yeah, they are providing a lot of great support for him.
But they shouldn't be. That's the thing. Fabian doesn't play a role where he's their entry fragger. That's Kanto's job. And then you've got Jonas following up. Fabian's your flex.
I don't think, if I'm being honest with you, Parker, I don't think Fabian is being put in a position where he's destined to get kills. I don't think that's what G2 are setting up for. I think he's just taking the opportunities that are presented to him. I think he's just having a really good tournament.
So you're saying he's baiting his teammates?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Parker.
Understood.
That's 100% what I was saying.
No, I think what's happening is that the entry so far of G2 has been kind of disjointed. This is the story of European Pro League. Sometimes it just feels like the entry of G2 is very sloppy. It doesn't feel like it's very well connected. And Fabian is there just to rely on his own sense and what little is left of his team after 1 or 2 might go down. And yeah, I mean, you get 7 kills. They might be impactless if you're not winning the rounds, but I mean, right now it's a 2-2 scoreline. So clearly, those contributions have been very important.
He can do it.
No. Bosco, run, Bosco, run. You're under surveillance. Chala takes out Kanto Raketti. There's one of the entries of G2 eliminated. As off of his sensor, Bosco will go, which will negate Fabian's ability to find the pulse playing underneath. Good control on that second floor, though, from G2.
You can see why he didn't go for the shot on the pulse there. He was trying to bait out the C4. That's a smart play from Fabian. Yokai drone here from Redeemer. It's going to be trying to disorient just a little bit, delay as much as possible. C4 being wasted from pulse means that it's pretty safe for G2 to play on the top floor. They're going to just need to cut off the rotations. Bosco's looking for one.
Goes the hatch over top of bomb site A. And we remind you that we are currently defending open area, or playing on open area rather. And Fabian's going over towards that site now from Skylight as he'll toss out a drone. 2 kills from G2 as Fabian opens the affair along with Jonas. Not too far behind, but some pressure onto Jonas on those stairs as there's Rampy prone looking to possibly pick one member of G2 off. Doesn't get it though.
These Yokai drones are going to be so important going into the dying seconds of this round, especially considering the way that open area plays as a site. These long angles are hard to manage, and G2 has direct access to the site. Doesn't seem like the defenders really can stop this entry, nor may they be able to stop the plant. It's going down. Where's the Yokai drone? It's not happening. Redeemer just not aware of the situation or repositioning the Yokai drones poorly, but it might not matter as Space Station get 2 frags in their favor. Jonas is on low HP. Pengu just hit a goo trap and is called out inside a printer. Jonas is also going to shut down Thinking Nade before he dies, and another one for him on such low HP. This is incredibly impressive. Playing on top of that diffuser, he is just 1 bullet away from death, but now he has the support of Pengu. He's gonna be holding down this rotation. Oh, Redeemer, no, he just doesn't pull the trigger. Pengu will cut it off and G2 take the round.
That was a perfectly timed lifeline that was shot in towards the staff area and completely baffled Space Station. And it provided enough cover from both sound and visually for G2 to drop the dual drop while Pengu watched from over towards Printer in open area, and Space Station had no clue that they had lost control of the site.
I also think that the Yokai drone came out of open area earlier and went straight into kitchen. I'm not sure what the thought process was behind that for Redeemer. There might still have been one inside of open area, but I don't think so. If there had been one in open area, you can bet your bottom dollar that one of the dead players on SSG would have been calling out, oh, hey guys, they're planting deep open in default spot. But that call never came. And so the Yokai drones were never used to deny the plant. And so the push from SSG came in the post-plant yet again. We've seen this a lot. G2 have put themselves in the advantageous position multiple times because Space Station are either unaware of the plant going down or unable to react to the plant going down until it is finally on the floor. Looks like it's going to be a holding server based solely on that clash pick.
Once again, this is really bizarre. So you win on CCTV as Space Station. You lose tellers twice. You go to CEO when CCTV is available. In fact, every site is available at that point.
Yeah.
It's all right, you go upstairs, you go to CCTV. You win. You now can go back to CCTV, tellers, or open. Then you go to open. It's a good, I don't know, that whole rigmarole and that whole game of, what is it?
Game of sights?
I guess like game of chance. It's almost like a guessing game.
Well, I mean, partially it's a guessing game, I suppose, but I don't know. I think that the basement should have just put the pick straight up as soon as they had it. There's nothing else to say.
SSG almost salvaged the round, given the fact that we saw G2 drop through that hatch, completely unbeknownst to the rest of the defense. Had Redeemer been eyes on that hatch with the Yokai drone, or just had a body been somewhat nearby, then G2's plant probably wouldn't have been able to go down the way it did. But we'll transition in towards the final round of defense here. And Thinking Nade, this is still as a Sentinel with lots of ADSs. And Rampy will come in for cover, watching the doorway. You'll see the Ash push on in. This is a big gamble. Oh no, and it doesn't look like Space Station will be able to get the best of G2. Played so effectively as Jonas and Kanto pick up 2 to start with, and all of the cover for Thinking Nade goes by the wayside. What a push from G2 to establish control of those server stairs and leave Space Station with just 2 bodies with 1:40 left on that clock. Yeah, you've got an Echo, and yes, you've still got the plant denial of a C4 with a Mira. This is not good, especially when those Candelas go out. Chala ducks for cover. Fabian has control from the hatches above, trying to use both those black Miras. You've got Redeemer and Chala, but Jonas will shut down Chala. And where is Redeemer? Well, he's under pressure, and Garage a flawless round. G2 read that one perfectly. And they'll go up 4-2 on attack on bank. You emerge with a 4-2 lead. That is worrisome for Space Station's fans, as SSG will now transfer over to attack on a map that the defense ought to be winning more often than not.
Map number 3, Parker?
I would say, as of right now, absolutely.
That round really came down to G2 not having any fear at all when pushing into the clash, and honestly, rightfully so. They went for a wide peek, disoriented the clash, and knew that the Jaeger playing behind was probably going to be peeking to the right. He was indeed. Easy kill for the attacking team, since the Jaeger was also disoriented. Following that, it was a pretty easy clear down into the server, again, using those lifelines on the clash over and over again until she was no more. It's going to be a basement defense here from G2. Nothing changes. There is a vigil being brought and an alibi, though, so you can expect to see a pretty heavy roam from G2 in this round, at least. Likely to have some rotations back pretty quickly. We usually see this from G2. They'll just put the feelers out and wait for some prompting to either fall back or take a fight, depending on the situation and whether or not G2 has the advantage in that fight.
Bosco on Dokkaebi is pretty interesting. Here we go, on bank, 42% of all kills have happened after the plant has gone down.
Wow, that is a really interesting statistic. That's pretty crazy, actually.
A very post-plant heavy set of circumstances.
Yeah.
G2 were able to get 3 diffusers down. They won every single round that did it. They also got the diffuser down, I believe it was on CCTV in the very first round. So 4 rounds with that diffuser down. They won 3, they lost 1, so.
Well done.
Defender is approaching.
Pengu is going to be holding on to server, using Pulse to gather information. Nobody there from Space Station side, though. There's actually only one person in the basement right now. That's Pengu. One defender in the basement. You've got Fabian inside a garage, but there's one. I mean, there's actually nobody on site at all. I mean, they're playing to hold the site by holding the entrances to the site. So there's no way for Space Station really to make this happen, especially not after Rampy gets a C4 to the face from Pengu at the top of server stairs. Good start there for the Pulse.
I think he also got echoed at the same time. That's just that might just be a really bad 1 to 2 seconds. Put you out of your misery there. I like that we saw Jonas late reinforcing a hatch in open area. A couple teams have done this, and the idea behind the mental gamesmanship is that if you leave hatches open and you can go for a late reinforcement, it leads people to think that, hey, this might be open. Phone call comes out from Bosco, but he's shut down by one of the alibis. There's 4 of them, and Kanto Ricchetti comes to life and manages to take him down. Though Kanto is found out, Chala doesn't need to worry too much on the guessing game. The Hibana able to slay the squid of Kanto Ricchetti. A minute 30 to go as Logic Bombs will still ring off. Pengu's below the hatch, as Redeemer will pop it open with an exothermic charge and go on to drone. Plenty of time for Space Station to still be able to figure out where to go, but this advantage is definitely in favor of G2 at the moment.
They're just gonna start opening up those drop downs, looking for some kind of access. They will have server in their hands, actually. G2 have given up on it. Pengu fell back to the vault. That's certainly the right call. You can now call out and we can play the default game, but G2 have come out on top thanks to their abnormal roam game. And because of that, SSG are going to be up against the wall when they go for the actual push into A. It's a plant, though, and no yokai drones to be seen. No C4s. There it is, the C4 from Goga. But perfect dodge from Redeemer will allow for the planter to stay alive, and it's another attempt. But Goga goes for a rush, and thinking Nade gets shut down. Redeemer refrags, and Chala as well eliminates one of the roamers. Another for Chala from above, using that drop down to great effect, and it's just Fabian. He has the yokai drone still, yes, but it's in a 1 versus 2. He knows he needs to get control above, and he's gonna see the head and land the shot. Now there's no way for the attacker to plant, and he has to go for a direct challenge. He's gonna instead force his way into B. He could still get this plant down, but the Yokai drone is probably going to have something else to say about that, as it's coming up on him right now. Only 3 seconds left, and it might be bad timing for Fabian, but it also might be the clutch, as now Redeemer is stuck in the plant, and he's going to get eliminated. What a clutch from Fabian.
The Yokai drone was hot on pursuit, hot on the heels of Redeemer, and it was such a tough position for Spacestation to find themselves in. And man, a coordination from G2. First and foremost, the Yokai drone from Fabian, as Fabian is nestled very safely in the garage, playing by the armored carrier. What does he do? He sends the Yokai drone in right as the plan is going down. There's a C4 that gets tossed, and Goga gets this information immediately from one of the Yokai drones playing not too far off. That call from Goga ends up being a wise one. And despite hatch control from Chala, Fabian's position was never given away. Maybe it was a lack of drones, maybe it was just a lack of coordination. But ultimately, Fabian, as that lumbering 3 armor, managed to somehow sneak his way across one of the largest maps in this entire game and pull off a miraculous clutch.
So I want to talk about the defensive setup there from G2, because there were a lot of different interesting things that they did in that last round. They had Cantor Raketti holding down the main lobby, drop down the elevator, drop down using Alibi, which is a great operator, I think, to solo hold a location like that. That's one of the points of access to the bottom floor. There was Goga on the main stairs. That's another one of the points of access. Pengu using Pulse to not only hold the server stairs, but also the dirt tunnel. He can call out both of them as a Pulse. And then we also saw inside of Garage, Fabian on the Echo, and he's probably the perfect operator to hold that. So the setup from G2 in that round had 0 people on the site for the first 2 minutes of the round, but they had every point of access covered. And as soon as anybody fell off one of those points of access, as soon as Cantor Kitty died in the main lobby, everybody else from G2 just fell back. They made the right call. They played it smart. We don't have full control of all of the access points, so we're going to hold downstairs. But that was just a really interesting defense from G2, and it's in the past. It did work for them. Now Spacestation will have to attack in the present on CEO.
The one good thing for Spacestation is that what G2 appears to be doing with their setup, especially by having Kanto play the reinforced walls at the top of Spiral Stairs as the Echo, has been seen in Pro League a number of times. It's been seen in events a number of times. You know that Kanto's going to aggressively peek that. He's going to set up his Yokai drones, as we see right now, as essential scouting tools. They might aid him, they might aid his teammates. You don't really know exactly how they're going to make calls around it, as we are not privy to the information that they pass along to one another.
That'd be cool.
But what we do know, I mean, it would be great, but what we do know is that Kanto uses that ACOG to full effect. That long range that is provided through all of lobby and up towards the windows. SSG knows this and can prepare for it. And in fact, most of SSG appear to be heading on over to the windows, up on rappel towards the site, foregoing any potential conflict with Kanto inside of the main lobby.
Bosco waiting for his opportunity, likely also waiting for a drone, but oh no, Jonas is ready for this. He's gonna adjust ever so slightly. Shotgun out, he must have heard that nade, and oh, he's not gonna dodge, but the cooking is just too long. And that cake will not taste very good. Bosco still on rappel, still trying to apply pressure, still trying to deny the impact tricking. This is going to work out well. Redeemer gets the exothermic charge off, and that's a good amount of control inside of CEO. And he's trying to go through some shots through that reinforced, well, not reinforced shelf, and the bullets will go through, but they will not land.
I'm waiting to see if somebody from G2 is going to get the call to pressure lobby and maybe go for one of these bodies from Space Station, who will be vulnerable on rappel. Frustrating for Bosco as he's going to waste about 5 seconds. Fabian starts things off inside of trading, and there will be no trade as it's a sole kill onto Rampy. Redeemer very, very close. Joint effort as the call is made to Bosco on rappel to just dispatch Jonas. Looks like some more damage there from Canto Raketti. It's going to eat up both Redeemer and Chum. I don't know what's going on there, but Thinking Nade will finally finish off Fabian. These mute jammers being essentially the end of this hard destruction. Pengu takes out Redeemer, dives through the window and off the top ropes, picks up a double kill as he'll head for the hills. But it will set Space Station up with 2 bodies, able to pressure the site with Kanto and Goga still there. Pengu is very low on HP, but the timer will be the undoing. It's going to have to be a double rappel on in, almost certainly to their doom, as their positions will be translated very well, and Kanto and Goga respond perfectly. G2 will go to match point on a much better map. for this team. And we saw on Clubhouse everything going according to plan for the European and defending world champions. Pengu saying in chat, Fabian got promoted to Doc.
He did indeed. And it worked pretty well for him. It worked well for G2, and we're gonna see a tactical timeout here. This is appropriate timing as well for just that, as, well, you're on match point for map number 2, and you gotta find a way to bring this back. And of course, yes, again, it is SSG's tactical timeout. G2 were very aggressive in that round. They just took the fight to the enemy, and, well, they won all of the fights. There's not really much else to say. SSG were spread pretty thin. There was a lot of potential for refrags, but almost no capitalization on those refrags. I mean, the biggest one, the glaring issue, of course, Bosco missing that shot on the castle, running out. He went back to sewer. That should have been a refrag, and it just wasn't. Pengu managed to make it away from that situation pretty easily and even get back into the site to potentially influence the round moving forward if he had needed to, but it wasn't necessary. Round was over at that point.
Once Pengu got that 2K and headed for the hills, well, he was gone. They didn't really need him, right?
Yep.
And then the biggest thing was just that you got 10 seconds left. And what do you got to do? You got to double repel on him. Basically doomed at that point. You are so vulnerable for those few seconds when you have to try to make it through a window. And well, it didn't really last very long for Spacestation. But more so than that for SSG, it was a lack of proper coverage of where G2 could approach you from. There's nobody watching the trading room where Fabian had set up. And he had control over that doorway into Skyline.
We've seen a lot of situations where a player will, on defense, push into trading room or stock room. And once they have control of that, they have an excellent crossfire, not only onto the CEO site, but also onto the entire balcony, which is usually a pretty substantial platform for the attackers to attack into the square skylight. I mean, we did see it. I referenced the game a lot, but we saw it in the Fnatic Nora match as well. So it's not too crazy to see somebody, especially a defender with an ACOG, push into that trading room and get so much control from it. It's on the attacking team to lock off that flank. And that's, well, certainly a mistake that needs to be corrected moving forward.
Both of these teams are very formidable on Villa. We have seen more of a winning record towards G2's side than we have necessarily seen on SSG's side. Both teams have had their share of struggles. It was Secret who absolutely pulverized G2 and ran roughshod over them on Villa, just as EG was able to best Spacestation on Villa. Both of these occurring within the last month and a half. So both of these teams have shown some weakness on this map, but ultimately, it's not bad for either of them. This is also not a bad map for Spacestation, but so far G2 have looked unbeatable on a lot of these takes.
Yeah, G2 are really fired up after that last map loss, and what you would imagine to be a negative effect on you is actually turning out to be quite positive for G2, as they are now focused and alert and just winning all of the fights that they take. Will that be changed though? Nicky Nade trying to challenge onto Eunice, and oof. Very narrow shots being missed by both players on this pixel angle. Eunice is actually going to be the one to take the first little bit of damage. Exothermic charge goes off meanwhile on the CEO wall, and that's a good job to SSG managing to get that control.
Some drone work that could have really enabled Thinking Nade to jump on that kill onto Goga, but lets him get away. Redeemer had sustained a little bit of damage earlier on. He isn't really in much conflict for the time being. Might be the second set of logic bombs, unless somebody on G2 just hasn't bothered to squelch their phone here. SSG has control of the windows. But they are struggling so hard, and they will get almost nowhere as Jonas gets Thinking Nade, and it's a double up for G2. Diffuser falls, but Rampy refrags onto Pengu. Goga is there, and G2 have read into this so well. Let's get really aggressive. How tempting it might be for both Bosco and Rampy, who are in sight, but neither of them have the diffuser, so they'll have to go up top. This is going to be almost certainly a suicide mission unless they could just rely on raw fragging potential. Now, the information for G2 is that they know that they have the diffuser. There's still yokai drones in play as well, and G2 is just waiting to circle on in and put us away towards our tiebreaker map. But Rampy looks almost surprised. Jonas is down as well. It's now a 2v2 as Bosco will finish him off. Rampy takes out Kanto Raketti, and there's still some life in Space Station. But they have 15 seconds to challenge Goga for that diffuser. We'll have the Vector out, holding the double doors, waiting to see if someone's gonna push it. You're running out of time, Space Station. If you want to go, you got to hurry. Goga takes out Rampy. Bosco's going to have to go in. What a shot from Bosco through the wall. And Space Station will hang on for the time being. Still sitting on match point for G2, and by the skin of their teeth, with just a couple seconds on the clock, Space Station managed to persevere.
It does not get nuttier than that. Shot through the wall. That call must have been so precise. Just by Couch, through the wall, easy kill. Bosco landed it, and because of that, SSG win a round there is no world they should have any right winning it in. I cannot believe that they managed to pull that off. Exceptionally impressive from Bosco and Rampy to clutch it out. Now, it's gonna be a bottom floor defense from G2. And I gotta be honest with you, Parker. The way that Bank has been playing out, despite that clutch from SSG, it seems like G2 are still in full control. I mean, they're on match point right now. They just need that one extra to push it over the edge. The bottom floor defense from G2 last time was so very dominant, you gotta expect it to be so again.
It was dominant until it fell apart, and then Fabian clutched though. I mean, can you count on a 1v2 clutch the same way that we saw from Fabian again? I don't know if you can.
I think you could attribute that more to, again, more miracles from SSG. The way that G2 set up their defense was very, very smart, and it worked well for them. They delayed for a lot. They managed to get some frags out of it. They gave away too many frags, true, but it was, I think, SSG more on the clutch path and Fabian managing to win it in the end. It was certainly G2's round to lose that SSG managed to start to try and bring in their favor. But no, I think you can reliably say that this should be a G2 round. And here's another thing. There's no alibi, which means it's very likely we're not going to see the same setup from G2. Possibly that will give us a different result overall. That might actually be in Space Station's favor as well. Keep in mind.
All things considered, Kanto off of the alibi makes a lot of sense if they're trying to find some way to enable greater contribution to this team, because Kanto is lagging behind the rest of the team right now in terms of what he does, which for somebody needs to get kills. He's going to start off pretty well. Takes out Thinking Nade, and his goo mine above will also alert him to one member of Space Station up top of Skylight Stairwell. That's Rampy. The R4C could potentially be the undoing of these members as, oh man, Kanto gets away. Very low on HP, but Rampy can't capitalize. Both Pengu and Jonas are downstairs to give any kind of support that is needed. There's a potential for a C4 as Jonas on the rope takes out Chala. And hey, here we go, G2 trying to put this one away in a hurry.
Rampy pushing his way into Archives. There's plenty of defense here, and it's Canther Raketti to get his second for this round. Space Station Gaming really up in a bad spot. Goga's gonna shut down Redeemer. It's just Bosco. The last hope for a 2-0 series in Space Station's favor. Canther Raketti's gonna take even more damage, but it's probably not gonna matter. Pengu, the only other player on the defense to have any damage on his way. Legion Trap will detonate. Oh, but it's a bad push from Eunice, giving an opportunity to Bosco to potentially clutch this out. He's got a good gun and set for this push, and he's gonna actually come up behind Canther Raketti. A second for Bosco, and he's going for it. At this point, G2 has to get wise to the situation and play it safe. There's no way they push into Bosco in this situation.
Diffuser is also down upstairs, and it was noted that Bosco got an ace in the group stages. It's the first time and only time that he's gotten one on land. He's gonna have to get another. And he's also gonna have to grab that diffuser if he just doesn't want to frag out. He still has 2 smoke grenades available, but his utility is all gone, given that the logic bomb is sitting at 0. So unless he has a drone available to him, he's gonna be flying blind for this entire 30 seconds. Goes on a drone, realizes there's no point bothering to bring it on up, and server stairs is where he'll start. Heading on down, he has a drone in his back pocket, but he's got 2 reinforced walls and a small doorway to go through. Doesn't know at all if there's somebody playing in server, doesn't have time to go on drones. 15 seconds, and he's going to be felled by the clock. A couple bodies in a mirror window will stand in his way. Bosco coming on in. There's a push. He'll grab one, but pushed off by Pengu, and there you have it. Bosco so close. Oh, He's teasing the audience, but G2, what a masterful performance after a disappointing clubhouse. They come one round away from taking this series 2-0, but because of that, because of Space Station, we'll go to map number 3 on Villa between these two teams.
G2 having one core principle to that map, or so it seemed: aggression, aggression, aggression. Take the fights, and that's all they seem to really care about.
Listen,